The member for Murray.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. And I want to say that, to me, this is one of the most important inquiries that we can run in our federal parliament, given that fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is the single largest and most underdiagnosed cause of disability and, in particular, permanent intellectual impairment in the Australian community. It also attracts, at this point, very little funding or support for those who have the condition or their carers. And this inquiry is dealing with that need, and I'm sure it will be well received in a bipartisan way. It's one of the reasons why I've helped to establish a parliamentary bipartisan group of like-minded members and senators to help lift the cone of silence that has long paralysed Australia's recognition and response to the damage that may occur to the brain and other organs in the unborn where the mother consumes alcohol. For the last 220 years since the commencement of European settlement, Australia has glorified and elevated the status of the consumption of what we sometimes have called grog or booze, beer, wine and spirits. Few wins on our sporting fields, significant stages in our person's life cycle, births, weddings or funerals, pass without raising a glass or drenching the victors in alcohol. It's part of our way of life. In our history, we have eras of rum as currency, and we've had a rum rebellion. That has made us colourful and macho, many think, and certainly we are not unique in the world in sanctioning heavy or regular drinking. In the last 40 years, Australian women and girls have also stepped up to join the men and boys at the bar. Girls can drink as hard and as long as boys, they now regularly want us to understand. But this means that our children now run an even greater risk of permanent and incurable brain damage should the pregnant mother consume alcohol at a critical time in the fetus's development, or should she drink throughout her pregnancy. The tragedy is that many Australian pregnant women or women pre-pregnancy are not informed of the dangers and risks of alcohol consumption. Every survey conducted in Australia of women's information about alcohol and pregnancy shows a shocking majority who have not been informed. This echoes the facts backed up with recent WA Health Department survey data that health service professionals are also ignorant of the relationships between alcohol consumption and intellectual impairment, or they choose not to talk about the relationship in order not to become alarming and to worry the mother. We have private hospitals boasting of the wine menu that accompanies their meals in maternity wards as one of their selling points. We lag behind other developed countries because we do not mandate health warnings on alcohol containers, including warnings about the risks of consuming alcohol while pregnant. We lead the world in tobacco advertising and health warnings. We drag behind the world when it comes to highlighting the even more serious health impacts of alcohol consumption. This is why the Standing Committee on Social Policy and Legal Affairs has sought and received ministerial support to conduct this inquiry into the incidence and prevention of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. I commend the government for taking up this critical issue, and I trust our final recommendations will be taken up and help to make a real difference. In the evidence we've taken so far in Canberra, Cairns and Townsville, we've seen and heard about the lifelong and tragic consequences that are the result of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, or FASD. Carers, very often foster parents, have told of their desperate struggle to obtain support for their children, or even an official diagnosis. We've also heard and seen the champions, who are Australian pioneers in researching this problem, in developing carers and support networks, information and education courses, school supports and help for those caught up in the prison system. But these champions are very thin on the ground, they're exhausted, and many of them have very little emotional and physical energy left to continue. While countries like Canada and the USA have 40 years of support and diagnostic tools, therapy centres and clinics, some in Australia are still challenging the National Health and Medical Research Council's recommendations that no alcohol during pregnancy or breastfeeding is the safest option. I want to say this report is extremely important. And I want to thank the carer-based organisation No FASD for the use of their definition of FASD, which echoes that widely accepted internationally. It is an umbrella term which talks about the abnormal facial features, growth delays, intellectual impairment, problems with learning, memory, attention and communication problems, vision and hearing impairments or damage to the skeletal or major organs of the body, such as heart and kidneys. Clearly, this is a major problem that Australia can and must confront, and I commend those who are already at work with this terrible problem.
Order.